professionals. And I'm so excited about today's episode. Today I have the one, the only, Keaton Beasley.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show and the podcast to really tell us a little bit about yourself. Today's podcast episode topic is From a Small Town Until Now. So,
I like that.
From a small town until now,
Okay.
Today me and Keaton will be talking about taking a deeper dive into his career, into a little bit of his life and his journey, and how he grew up in a small town and where he is today. So again, thank you, and we're going to get this show going.
Sounds good to me.
So Keaton, I know you're killing the game here in Arkansas. You're just doing so many amazing things. I know that we'll talk a little bit later as we get a deeper dive into your career about just some of the recognitions you've received. And I know that you are from Hope, Arkansas.
Yes, ma'am. Hope, Arkansas.
Shout out to everybody that's watching from Hope. The one that only Keaton is here today representing Hope. And so definitely want to shed light on you being from a small town, and I also grew up in a small town, Fordyce, Arkansas, and so we're going to talk about that today. So first, to jumpstart the conversation, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so like I said, my name is Keaton Beasley. I'm from Hope, Arkansas. I was born in Texarkana, Texas. I'm 27 right now. Next week, I don't know when you're dropping this, my birthday is next Saturday, March 16th. So y'all spam that you want Pansy. You probably won't. If you don't see this until then, if you do see it before then, like Pansy, why did you drop it? Wait till his birthday. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, March 16th. Like I said, from Hope, Arkansas. Honestly, Hope just being a smaller town, we didn't have much to do there. So I guess we spent a lot of time in Texarkana, going to hot springs and things like that. So a bulk of my childhood was spent with the imagination of just finding things to do, because we didn't have that in Hope.
Right.
Between that and working, because I grew up with my dad, and he was real big on, you're not just gonna sit around, you're gonna come out here and work, hard work, dedication, start at a young age. So, so as long as I can remember being 7, 8, once you get to that age, my grandpa was at a point where it's like, all right, if y'all can eat what my wife just cooked, y'all can come outside and help me work. So every weekend we go down to Roston, me and my cousins, whether it be stacking wood, grabbing a wheelbarrow, moving wood from one side of the house to the other, putting it on a carport for my grandparents. Just small things up to when you get older, swinging an axe and doing things like that. So that was kind of like my upbringing, is like understanding the importance of hard work. Now it wasn't, on the professional side, but it was, the labor side, which I can attest, which we'll probably get into later on in the show, being part of the reason why I work so hard like I do today. So moved past that, went to Hope High School, graduated class of 2014, shout out to class 2014, 10-year anniversary. Oh my God, we're old.
Oh my God.
Saying that out loud is kind of crazy. But
our
10-year anniversary will be this upcoming fall. So we'll be having that in Hope, Hammond Stadium. Go Bobcats. I hope we do great this year.
Nice.
Yeah. And let's see. So after that, graduated high school, went to Houston State University. Really didn't even know what I wanted to go to college for. Was just there, honestly, and my dad can attest to this. He'll be like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to figure something out. One of my good friends actually was a communications major. And I think at the time I was in education. And I knew I wasn't going to be in education because I remember when we had to do our shadowing hours. I was like, I'm just going to go back to Hope. That'll make it easy. Go back to Hope. Nah, I'm not doing this education thing. I know this from the jump. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It takes a special person. Shout out to all the educators out there, because it really does take a special person to go into that field. Dedicated and good-hearted people. And I don't know, I have a good heart, but I don't know if it's that good. But anyway, so I had a professor my freshman year. I took oral comm. And so it was one of the only night classes I took. And I don't know why I put it on my night schedule. It was like at 6, I think, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I just remember our first presentation, I didn't study for it. I didn't anything. I kind of just winged it. And I'm like, I was nervous as I don't know what at first. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like I was just the perfect oral comm speaker, public speaker. I was never that.
Yeah.
But I honestly just did not prepare. Like, didn't take it serious. Like, I put on the spot, but I actually did good. And so after the class, he came talking, was like, you know, what are your plans? Like, I see that you're still undecided. Most freshmen, I get it. And I was like, I really don't know yet. I'm trying to figure out this education thing. He was like, we should think about communication. And I was like, I think a big misconception sometimes we think about the communication degree is that it's just media. When there's like a whole other side of it. Don't get me wrong, media plays a big part into it.
Yes.
But there's another side to communication where it's like public speaking, you know, and various things like that. And so once I kind of when I looked into that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go with that. And so because I feel like I don't want to edit. You know, you really have to like figure out what communication is gonna mean to you. And at the time, I really didn't know. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, that sounds great. I don't know what you were talking about, but I'm sure one day we'll figure it out. But that's just kind of like the gist of, you know, between growing up, high school to college.
Yes, love it, love it. Thank you for sharing. I feel like it was a lot of gems. I know you were trying to keep it high level so we don't go because we're gonna talk about your career later. But I like just pulling them out, the hardworking. You know, just getting. I feel like that's probably one of the things you're probably going to touch on multiple times today, just hard working and where that's gotten you now. Growing up in a small town, seeing that hard work be put to action, but also your family challenging you, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely with the communications thing, I actually majored in public relations, so kind of in the communications realm. So I understand firsthand of going to college, and that's one thing with college. I think sometimes we put too much pressure on knowing at the beginning what you want to go into. So I'm happy that you talked a little bit about your journey of just like not knowing, right? The transparency.
You really have to feel it out for yourself. You can go in with a plan of, oh, I know I want to do this, until you actually start applying it and really seeing what, you know, it really entails and what it takes. You can't really know, and the worst thing you can do is enforce something that you know you don't want to be a part of, or you know, because then you kind of set yourself back in the real, because then you'll look back and be like, well, I kind of want to do something else. And now, you know, you could have had that realization up front. So. Right.
But it worked out. It worked out for you, definitely, 100%. Okay, well, definitely let's keep it moving on. What would you say was the benefit of growing up in a small town?
There's a few, actually. When I look at how things go in Little Rock, and I love Little Rock, but the difference between here and growing up in a small town is you don't have the luxury of having the malls, skating rink, and things like that. Now, you can still find yourself getting into trouble if you choose to go that route, but there's a lot of things that are more, you know, like I think the biggest thing with this generation is looking at like how social media and, you know, appliances, games and things are taking over. In the country, we kind of are all outside playing or at the park, or that's like one of the best things to do is like go to the park when I was growing up. Or like, you know, on the weekend, like you down here in bigger city states, it's like, okay, meet me at the mall, meet me at the movie theater. And we weren't meeting anywhere unless we were going to Texarkana, and you had to have a car or borrow your parents' car. And so one of those benefits is the factor of like wanting to be outside and enjoy life a little bit more instead of being enclosed and, you know, I guess you could say like the luxuries we didn't have, we kind of created and made of our own, and we value the small things. And so enjoying those little things is something I really appreciate and understand. And it doesn't always take a lot, you know. So that's one thing. Then the hard work factor, like you said, we'll probably get on hard work a lot during this podcast, but when you're in those small towns, you'll find yourself in settings where you may not have it, where it's like your parents may need extra help, like with their business, side business, or whatever. Like a lot of my classmates were working with their parents. They get out of school and go to work. And so that's another thing I think that coming from a small town, you really, I think that really helps instilling like that hard work in you, that you don't realize that you are getting. You think it's just like, oh, I'm just going to work with my parents after school, but you're teaching yourself a little discipline to it. And so I think those would be the major things of growing up in a small town that really play the benefit versus if I would have grew up maybe like in a larger city.
I love that. I love that you touched on just, again, the hard work. And definitely, you know, like I said, I grew up in Fort Hays, Arkansas, a small town. Used to call my homegirl. I'm like, girl, you want to go walk down the street? We walking down the street.
That's like when you get a car, you're like, I ain't walking nowhere. People ask me like, are
we could just walk. Whew. Look, I done put enough miles. Look, if you don't care what's down the street, when you get in the car, you can walk.
Right.
No.
Right. No, but you appreciate that,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
The appreciation is so. Oh my gosh, I feel like only somebody that grew up in a small town can relate to the appreciation that you have for certain things that we have now.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That understanding that. Like when you touched on this, like growing up and having parents, and sometimes they don't have it, right?
Yeah.
And I think also having a community, that community part comes in.
Everybody gonna know you such and such grandchild, or
right?
You know, so
yes.
that personability between the community, everybody knows each other some kind of way. It's all love at the end of the day. Even though the city might be bigger, whatever. At the end of the day, it's all love.
It's all love. Yes, love it. So let's move into. What are some common misconceptions about, growing up in a small town?
Oh my God, there's no common sense.
Oh my gosh.
The education level is a lack. Let me tell you, in the country, there's some of the most talented artists, just self-driven individuals. They just don't know what outlets to go, honestly. Like, they don't know, they have all this ambition, talent, but they don't know what to do with it because they don't. Luckily for me, I had parents that kind of showed I had a little path. Like, you need to go to college, you should do this, have a plan. There's if you're not lucky to have those individuals who will help guide you, sometimes you do fall astray. And not to make that an excuse, but sometimes it's kind of like the hand that was dealt to you, and you may not know how to tap into your talents completely because it wasn't shown to you.
Wow.
But one of those biggest misconceptions is the fact that everybody from the country or small town is dumb. I think that's the main one. I hear that a lot. That small town people you don't know anything about it, but it's like people from small towns still travel. So they still have an understanding of the outside world, outside of that county and outside of that city limit. It's just they live there. So but that education level, there's truly there might not be as much education flowing through there, but that doesn't mean the individuals that come from that town or that small city, wherever, aren't as intelligent as ones that come from a larger city. So
true.
Yeah.
I mean, drop the mic. Literally, like I have no words because I've literally had the exact same experience. I've even had the experience of oh, are you from here? I'm like, no. I'm from Fort Hays, Arkansas. And so I'm always so proud to say that. And I'm so happy that you're the same way. Like, I'm from Hope, Arkansas. Like, we're proud to be where we're from. And I think that should show,
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Bill Clinton. It helps, but that's the one thing that does help is the fact that Bill Clinton's from Hope, because then it's like, it washes the whole conversation. It's like, they look at Hope. Watermelon country town. Bill Clinton, and then it just goes, oh snap, that's for Bill Clinton.
Right, so, you're good. You're in the clear now.
Shout out to Bill though. So.
Yes, so I completely understand. Okay, so y'all already know me. I'm always gonna give a little statistics, some facts, some information. So according to RSF, Journal of Social Sciences, research shows educational attainment is lower in rural areas. Statistics stated 19% of rural residents had a bachelor's degree. What are your thoughts on that, being a young professional, graduating, and hearing those statistics? And I know you just even touched on the fact of like education.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, and a stat is going to be a stat. The biggest thing when I go to communities like where I'm from is I don't necessarily always want to preach about you have to go to college. I'm more on the standpoint of you should have a plan. As long as you have a goal, you can be passionate about whatever. Education in college isn't for everybody. It truly isn't. And there's people that thrive outside of that realm of having to go to college and that path. But it's like the main thing I think that wasn't being taught as much where I'm from is the fact that, okay, you may not want to go to college, but what do you want to do? Nobody really sat down with people at our high school and were like, well, what are your talents? We had agri, where it was like, welding and things like that, so that sparked a lot of people's interest, and you can make a lot of money doing that. And there's people that really took that route, but it's like, okay, what about our tattoo artists? What about our mechanics? What about people like that? When you literally put in their face if you don't go to college. The biggest joke used to be where I'm from is you're either gonna go to college, pick a university, or you're gonna go to TU, Tyson University. And so it was like you can choose one or the other. There was never such thing that was like, all right, well let's look at this art institute. Well, let's look at this culinary school. Or let's look at how we get you an electrician, plumbing school. However, it was either college or bust for the most part. And you know, like I said, stats are gonna be stats, but I think we need to look more into like how we can help our community. And this is all across the board, like education, young professionals that's from there, other leaders in the community, and how we can drive the younger generation to tap into their passions, rather than just tapping into a book that they may not be all that interested in. So,
you know, key word of what you said, tapping into their passions and not focusing so much of tapping into a book and having that choice.
exactly.
The choice, and having that conversation. Why it's so important to have those conversations and to allow, you know, your kids or siblings to know like you have different opportunities out here. You know, that you can go after, and that yes, you know, yes, you can get an education. Yes, you can go get, you know, a certificate certified in something. Yes, you can go to wellness school. Yes, you can go to a technology, you know, a tech school.
And like the biggest thing was, I remember just this vividly, like we would be in classes, had classmates sleeping in class, weren't interested, but got to Agra and it's lit, it's up. Like, oh snap, we welding today. You gotta think about that situation right there is a perfect example of they may not care about what happened in the 1800s, or they might not be the best at adjectives, words, and things like that, but they have a passion, and maybe we should start looking to tap into that instead of discrediting them and putting them out the way just because they don't want to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Snaps. I agree 100%. I agree. Have those conversations early and know that if you're a young professional and you're watching this and you're feeling like, I don't know what I'm going to do, you have choices.
Don't be afraid to chase your passion.
Yes, 100%. And don't let anybody tell you any different too.
Facts.
Yeah. So let's switch gears. I know I've touched on it, you touched on it a little bit, but now let's go into your career.
Okay.
So I know you are in banking, killing the game, number one. I mean, you're just really killing the game, and just really making an impact. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about your career, kind of what led you to get to where you are as a senior relationship manager.
So
yeah.
Honestly, I never planned on getting into banking. I never knew that I would be in banking, which honestly, most people around our age range are telling me the same thing, that they didn't have that plan early on. So that just goes to show again, like, you know, figure it out. Like, you know, you never know what your calling may be.
Right.
So I have to go through the whole process of how I even got here.
Yeah.
So boom, out of college, 2020. I'm sitting in Arkadelphia, and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. At the time, I'm working like nothing. Actually, my dad was giving me side jobs to work, you know, during the pandemic and things. And if it wasn't for one of my older profiles, Kenny Williams, they call him Dub, he literally came up to me that summer and was like, I don't really want you just sitting around not doing anything. He gave me the keys to his shaved ice truck and told me, you can run it. He showed me how to do it. He paid for products. Anything I made, he let me keep pretty much. And man,
that's good.
I'm thankful for him because he kept me out of that spot where a lot of people are saying they got depressed because it was during the pandemic and you weren't doing anything, so you were sitting in the house, whatever. He gave me a passion to start seeing that there was more than just sitting in the house and, you know, hanging your head on anything. And it takes a genuine person like that to really want to pour into another individual. You know, we're fraternity bros, but at the end of the day, like, he's somebody who was looking like a big brother for real. Because he looked out for me like, he saw the potential in me. He just knew that I needed to be pushed a little bit. He definitely pushed me in the right direction. We ended up getting bookings that summer. He was still letting me keep most of those proceeds. Even when I was cutting up, he was paying me. I was like, yo, I'm finna go to Little Rock, kick it. I'm finna go kick it in Little Rock. I'll be back to Arkadelphia tomorrow, though. He was like, you gonna run tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'll probably
it might open, but he still is looking out for me. So shout out to Doug for that. That's my guy. So went for that. I was like, man, I need to find like a job, like for real, because now we're in, I say like August of 2020, and it's like I'm not in college. I'm not, doing anything this semester. That flow is done. So what am I gonna do? And I'm really sitting at the apartment. I'm like, man, shaved ice is cool, but it's like I gotta find like my niche in something.
Right.
And so I don't know how many places I applied to, and it sounds crazy to think about now, but I was just like, anywhere I could get, honestly, that had like any little bit of a leeway for me to move up, I was looking into it. So when I was in college, for the most part, I was working in Hibbett Sports. So I was like, maybe if I can get in as a store manager, because I got a lot of experience. I was an assistant manager there for a while before they shut down. And I was like, okay, let me look towards the Bryan Little Rock area because I'm too comfortable in Arkadelphia. I don't want to be anywhere near Arkadelphia. I'm not going back to Hope. I don't want to go back home. I need to grow. So I'm looking upward. I'm like, I'm going to go to Little Rock, Bryan, whatever. I'm applying for all these jobs. Nothing. I didn't hear back from anybody. So I'm kind of getting down on myself in Arkadelphia, and I would talk to my dad every day, and he just always tell me like, just keep pushing, keep driving, like something gonna pop up.
Right. And
so I ran across AT&T, and they had I forgot what they called it at the time. It might not be this now, but it was pretty much like a sales rep. It used to have a nice title to it. I don't remember what it was called, but it was just a store sales rep. And I was like, man, I'm gonna apply for this. And so I had first applied, I think it was for like North Little Rock, I want to say. But I was like, okay, I live in North Little Rock, who cares? Like, it's out of here. Didn't get, I forgot, those generic emails they send back to you when you're not even going to go through with the interview with you, that we're moving along with the next person. They hit me with that about 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Oh my God.
So I had another frat brother who ended up, that was working at AT&T. He put the word in for me, and I was able to get a job at the store in Bryan. And so I'm like, okay. Like, it's solidified, then I'm on my way, I'm finna make some good money now. Like, I'm looking at how much you can get paid. I'm like, oh, what's up? So, I get there, I'm not realizing anything that comes with this job as far as like responsibilities, hours, anything. So my first day, it's like, okay, you're gonna go through this training program for, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks where you don't get on the floor at all. You have to go through and get certain trainings done and things. And so my schedule at the time was that Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So I'm loving it. I'm like, snap, I'm 8 to 5.
Right.
I can kick it on the weekend. I'm in Central. Like, everybody went to college with is living down here now. So it's like, oh, it's up. Like, I can kick it on the weekend. I can do whatever.
Right.
That 4 weeks ran out. They put me on the floor. It was like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about your schedule. You'll be working every day except Monday and Tuesday. That'll be your off days. And it's all based off seniority, right? So you literally, I'm the last on the totem pole, and you got people who have 10 years experience at minimum ahead of you. So it's you'll never see a results for the next 3-4 years, buddy. Sorry. And so, but at first I didn't let that deteriorate. I'm like, all right, whatever, I do what I gotta do. I'm making money. I mean, that was the goal. The goal was to get out of Arkadelphia, start a career path, and this is it. And so I'm geeked. I'm like, okay, AT&T, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna move up, become assistant manager fast as I can, whatever. My second week on the floor, my boss calls me to the office. He's like, I'm like, did I get fired? I ain't even been on my week. I'm like, I came to work on time every day. And I'm like, whoa. He's like, I hate to do this to you, man, but I gotta move you to the Little Rock store. And I'm like, the Little Rock store? But I applied to work here.
Right.
My apartment is in Bryan, Arkansas, not in Little Rock. He's like, that's just how it goes here, man. When you're the last one in, you'll be the first one to go. And that's how it was. And so that was it. It really wasn't much conversation. Like, you can quit or you can go on with this plan. And I wasn't finna quit. I mean, now I got an apartment, all bills, I'm responsible for all this now.
Yeah.
So it's like, you gotta go with it. And so I tucked my tail and I just went with the fact that now I'm going here. So the thing I thought was gonna be great is when how you can Google hours? I Googled it and I was like, well, they're not open on Sunday. So at least now, I don't have to work on Sundays anymore.
Yeah.
Nah, they didn't update them hours on Google because
So now,
okay, so you just
man, so now I done moved to another store at a different location I have no familiarity with, don't know none of the people working here after I just got accustomed with everybody
right,
to a whole new environment. And so I have to adapt now. And so
right.
I'm getting accustomed to this. I worked the first day on a Sunday, and I'll tell you right now, shout out to Corbin G. That's my guy. If it wasn't for Corbin, I wouldn't have lasted as long as I did. We came in around the same time, and that was like my homeboy was like, whenever things would get bad, like we chop it up, go to lunch and stuff like that. Him and Rod, like those were my guys for sure. And so I was working at AT&T. I never was doing bad at the store. I was always a good producer, you know, especially for being new. Like I had expectations to be an assistant manager somewhere soon, but it just wasn't good for my mental. And what I mean by that is I hated going to work because how it worked was you were being micromanaged, and the micromanagement went down a chain. So if that person was getting done something to them, they were doing to the next person, bring it down to you. So I was doing good in what I was doing, but it was never good enough because once you do one thing, now I know you can do this, you got to do better than that.
Right.
Like that kind of thing going on, and I'm like, this is stressful. It's to a point. It's like I remember. I think at the time I might have been 173 pounds. I'm 210 pounds right now, and but at the time I was 173. And so I was hardly eating on lunch break. My lunch breaks would be like 6:30, I think. That's dinner time, lunch break. But I don't get off till 9, 10 o'clock. So, you know, you do it like that, but I'm not eating because I don't want to eat. I'm stressed and like literally not enjoying what I'm doing. And so I'm like, man, I remember talking to my dad and I was like, man, I got to figure something else out. It's just not good for me. I mean, the money, don't get me wrong, the money was good. It was straight. But I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. That journey I saw myself growing, it was like, nah, this ain't it.
Right.
And so, the funniest story, and I know he's going to watch this because he likes your podcast, is one of my homeboys, Ray. I used to run everything by him. His name's Ray Messina. We call him Ray 2 times. I told him, I was like, bro, I got an interview. He's like, where at? I was going to go sell. You know how you can sell knives? Door to door. I didn't no, but I didn't know. All I saw on the description of the job, flexible hours, good pay, benefits.
They make it look so good.
They make it look great. So I'm telling him the night before, I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm finna leave AT&T. He said, all right, bro, who you finna go work for? I told him to come. He was like, whoa. No, it's sell knives. I was like, yeah, bro, I can sell some knives. I be selling phones and internet and all that.
It's transferable.
It's transferable. I can sell anything at this point.
Right.
He's like, no, bro, you don't understand. They're gonna have you going soliciting, knocking door to door, and you're all commission. And I was like, well, I wonder how long it's gonna take me to make what I make now. He's like, bro, you're never gonna get a paycheck. You're gonna have to work commission to get paid. And I was like, man, don't tell me that. He was like, man, I hate to tell you, bro, you're gonna have to thug it out at AT&T a little bit longer. I didn't even take the interview after that. And the interview was that next morning. I remember vividly. I was at my crib. I think it was on a Monday. I was off on Monday, Tuesday. And so I just remember that went on for like another month or so. And I'm at the point now, it's the first time in my life I ever thought about just quitting the job.
Wow.
No 2 weeks, anything like that.
Wow.
And
so would you consider this was the turning point?
This is, and I'm gonna get into it, this is when I was just gonna just give it all, just completely give it in. Like, just like, I don't care, I'm just gonna quit, I don't care what, like on my resume, whatever. And so, I remember this day so vividly. This was about late January. I was on my lunch break. I went at 5 this day. I think my homeboy Corbin called in, so I'm really vivid because now I only got my talking partner to talk to.
Right.
And so I'm at the mall because I worked across the street from Park Plaza. And so, like I said, I'm not eating at my lunch break. I'm just walking through the mall. I'm going through H&M. I'm literally looking just like this. I'm like, man, slouched over, 170 pounds, looking sick, clothes too big. I'm in the store, and a guy was like, hey, Fred. And I turn around, I'm like, who's talking to me? Because I don't know my outfit here. There's nobody in H&M. I turn around, he come up to me, and his little boy come up. And he's like, you don't remember me? And I'm like, man, nah. Where I know you from, Fred? Just talking to him. He's like, man, I came to the homecoming about 2 years ago. And remember I had you take my son to the bathroom because he didn't want to use the outside porta potties. And so I badged him in to use the bathroom. He was like, man, I never got to thank you for that. And I'm like, yeah, no doubt. He was like, well, what you doing now? And I'm like, oh, I work at AT&T right away. He was like, he could tell like my whole demeanor. I know I'm like, I'm saying it like that. I probably was like, man, I'm working at AT&T right across the street. Mad. I think I had like 20 more minutes trying to go back. Like, bro, you wasting my time. And so he's like, man, you liking it? Like, he's geek though. He's like super energetic, and I'm over here like, man, they talking to me like this, like. But I was just like, man, no, like, I'll be honest with you, man. It's the first time I'm telling him straight up. It's the first time I ever thought about quitting.
Wow.
And he's like, what? He was like, so you don't see any growth? You're just kind of going through that motion. I'm like, I did at first, but now I don't. He was like, have you thought of working in banking? And I'm like, nah, man, I ain't really that good with math. Like, that's
That's every person towards banking.
And so,
oh my God.
And so he's like, man, it ain't even all that about math. And I'm like, oh, what you got for me? He was like, man, that's what I want you to do. He was like, I want you to go to Banco ZK's website, and I want you to put an application in, anything you can find, just anything, and let me know when you do. And he's like, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I would recommend that you go to retail first. And so I'm like, okay, I don't even know what you're talking about. I know retail is like, this store is a retail store, so I'm like, you want me to sell bank clothes? Like,
and this one you're still on the sale.
I'm like, okay, so I'm still in sales, like, whatever, cool. But I'm like, all right, he's like, because I literally told him, I was like, so I got to sell bank clothes? Is that what it is on retail? He's like, he started laughing. He's like, nah, man, it's just like a tiller position. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, boom. I think that I waited a couple of days. That Monday, I went straight into, on my off day, I went straight in, logged on Banco ZK, and they had a few tiller positions open. It was called like a customer service specialist, I think that's what it's called. And so I was like, I guess this is what he's talking about. It fell into the retail category, so I'm like, I'm gonna apply for him. So I applied for him, and I texted him. He's shout out to Big Bro. You know what I'm talking about. He's a commercial lender out in Texas right now. I'm not gonna put all his because he's going somewhere new. He's going somewhere new, and I can't.
Shout out to Big Bro.
Spoiler alert. But shout out to him. But as soon as I put the application in, an hour or two later, I was getting phone calls like,
wow.
Hey, is this Keaton? I'm like, yeah. He was like, okay, I wanted to see if you want to schedule an appointment. Because you got to see you apply for this. I'm like, yeah. When you want me to? Like, well, when are you free? Today?
Pronto. Actually, I was free.
Actually, I'm dressed right now. But nah, we scheduled for the next day, right? So that's that Tuesday. So I go in, I meet with the first interview. Woman, she interviewed me, and she asked me like a question or two, and I guess I just answered because she just put all the pairs aside. I was like, I'll give you this job right now, and was like, honestly, I went in for a television. She was like, honestly, I'll have you as my desktop person if I can get that to go through. And so I'm like, all I'm hearing is the fact that she's telling me you're gonna get me away from my current situation. So I'm like, do you need me to sign? Where at? Right. And so I'm so geeked now because I'm getting into banking. I don't even know that I'm gonna have a career. I'll be honest with you, and I tell everybody this whenever they ask me the story. When I got into it, I was thinking I'm just gonna use this to buy me time so I figure out what I really want to do. Just so I can get away from here. I'm gonna figure out what I want to do in the meantime. The hours are good, whatever. And so I'm geeked. I get in the car. I call on people. I'm out at AT&T. The storm is over. I'm almost out. Yeah. And so I go home, driving home, Little Rock, because it was where Banco ZK headquarters used to be on Chanel. Simmons actually has that building now. Ironically, where the first interview I had. And so I'm driving home. I get to Bryan. I'm leaving out of Target. I'm getting another phone call. And I'm like, let me see who called me. 501 number. I'm like, I don't know who this could be. Maybe somebody I gave my phone number that wanted internet service. Because I always make my play like, you can't reach me in the store. You can always text me and call me outside of work. How I get done next day. And so I answered, and it's Banco ZK again. And I was like, this is my first boss, Jessica. She calls and she's like, is this Keaton? I'm like, yeah, who is this? I'm like, dumb rude. Like, I don't even know it's the bank office. She was like, it was like, oh, well, I'm Jessica. I'm the branch manager for Banco ZK. I'm like, okay. Well, I just had an interview and I'm accept the position. It's like, no, I wanted to bring you to let you interview for the position downtown Little Rock. And I'm like, I'm scared because I'm like, I don't want to do this, and then they take my other, job away. Like, I'm trying to get out of here. Like, you're not gonna mess nothing up for me. Like, I'm sorry.
Pronto.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't really see the point of me doing this. No disrespect, but like, why? It was like, you just come through for an interview, and I'm like, okay. So she scheduled an interview for me then. So she did it for the next day. So I took off from AT&T. I was some bogus, like. really good. so I go in for the interview. Same thing. Ask me 2 or 3 questions. Slides paper to the side. The only difference in this scenario was she didn't say, I want you for this. She's saying, I think you'll have a great career in banking. And this is why. I noticed this, and this about you by the questions I asked. And I think you should really give this a shot. And so shout out to Jessica Falls, my first branch manager. I took the job with her. And that's how my journey started. I was at Bank OCK for a year on the dot. I was able to take a promotion where I got to be with my second branch manager, Rachel Minner. Rachel Minner, she was the GOAT in Saline County, like legitimately. Like, shout out to Rachel. She's doing her thing in the car industry right now. She's killing it. Well, due respect to her. I looked up to her. She poured a lot of insight into me. She really was like one of the first people to tap into me, thinking like how I could go into a lending career and things like that. So I owe the world to her. So I got on at Simmons in a weird way. And what I mean by that, I never applied for Simmons initially. My first boss knew the person that was doing the hiring at Simmons Bank down here. And so she was like, you should just go over there and meet her. And Deanna, you'll never meet anybody like Deanna. No. She's like a second mom though, no lie, like second, third mom, however you want to look at that. But Deanna knows love for real. Like, she really was my hype person when I got to Simmons. Because I was doing those subpar things, wasn't on no categories, no list, nothing. But Deanna used to hype me up. She used to be like, look at Keaton, that's my superstar. Like all that little stuff.
And you need that. Someone to speak life into you.
And she definitely was that person. And so shout out to Deanna. She was the one that initially got my name kind of started out here at Simmons. Because her insight and the people that she did know from just working in banking, she was in banking for like over 20 years. So, you know, over all that time, you just know so many people that, because people move banks, you know, so it just happens. And so she would always put my name to the right people. And, you know, I was just able to progress through Simmons here. And now we're here today where we're at right now. So, man, I owe a lot to Deanna. And everybody else I mentioned, like, my journey was crazy, but it just also goes to show, like I said, I never knew that I'd be in banking. But now I can't imagine myself doing anything else at the moment. Like I said, you never know what could happen after. What I'm doing right now and how I help people and things. You know, right now what I'm doing is great. So
I love it. The journey. I love it. Thank you for sharing the journey.
I know it's a long story, but
it was good, and it's so impactful to someone that may be listening and may not know what they want to do, right? You know, just understanding that no path is perfect. And sometimes in those imperfect paths is when you end up in exactly where you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
You have to appreciate your journey.
One thing I tell everybody, you can learn something from anyone. All the bosses I had, I've learned something from them. Whether it was good, bad, I learned I didn't want to do this to people. I like how you did this. I don't like how you did this. And I carry that with me. Just stay the course. Like I said, at 18C, it would have been so easy for me just to quit. But if I would have quit, who knows if I'd ever been at that mall and ran to him and got me on that path to go into banking.
Like timing is everything, and also understanding to like just have patience, even when you're going through those trials, and you know life is testing you because it tests us all. You know, just to stay motivated, stay positive, because you never know what connection can and what you know you meeting somebody where that can also take you. Because what if you was like in a rush and like, hey, okay, I don't have time to talk. It would have probably been so different. So so thank you for sharing that. What advice would you give to young professionals that may be watching that are interested in breaking into the banking industry?
Stay the course, first off. I think one of my biggest things when I kind of started feeling like I was doing good in banking was like, I'm ready for this next challenge. I'm ready for what's next. Sometimes you have to really stay the course and really get an understanding on what you're doing and what your purpose actually is there before you even get to that next spot. Before I go to this next spot, do I fully understand what I'm doing right now? Can I fully help? And am I going to be good at this next position? Not just thinking I deserve it, but do I really even need to be there? another thing I would tell is like, don't be afraid of you being younger to go for positions that are higher than you think your age range. Sometimes we
That's
think,
good.
well, I'm not old enough, or I'm not, that's kind of stigma that I see. But it's like, if you're in a position where you have the experience, you feel comfortable with what you're doing, and you know that you have a shot at it, just go for it, because you never know.
Right.
I was saying, like, especially with the confidence employees, if you don't have the confidence in yourself, to just even go for things like that, or just show that you have confidence in the nature of, hey, I'm here, I'm doing what I do, I'm good at what I do,
Right.
not in an arrogant way, but just knowing, like, I know I can get the job done, then no entity's gonna want to have you represent their brand, because it's like, if you're not confident in yourself, you're not gonna be confident for us, you're not gonna represent us in that way. So
Right.
that's definitely like something I would say, especially if you're trying to come into like the banking industry, for sure.
Love that. Love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're looking at being in the banking industry, just call Keaton.
Not yet.
He'll be happy to assist you.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so next question. What are some challenges you faced as a young professional, and how did you overcome the adversity?
Some of the challenges I used to face was getting in my own way, for one. What I also say is, I'm like a real challenging person. So what I mean by that is, if I don't think someone can do the job to the best of their ability, I don't like them telling me what to do sometimes. As far as like in the past, when I first was early on, I had to learn that you think you know, but you really don't know.
Right.
Like if I could go back, like you think you know but you don't. And so I had to learn that early on, because it really helped me along the way, because like I said, you can learn from anybody. So don't ever think you're too big for your britches, or like you can't learn, because you always can. And I had to get over that, because I was being in my own way, and that mindset of thinking like, well, how can you tell me about this? You don't even do this. But it's like, no, you don't see them doing this, or no, they don't have to do this because they're like, it's just so many different ways, so many different things. So I definitely think just not being in my own way. And that goes into a lot of different facets, not even just in that category, but if you just think about being in your own way, think about the times that you might have gotten in your own way, overthinking, not believing, just all those things. So that definitely would be it.
Made a significant impact on your career.
And there's so many people. If we just start from the beginning with my childhood friends, KJ, Tyler, Sosa, Cheeto, to transitioning to college, meeting, my LBs. And let me single out one of my LBs, because he's going to be so dramatic if I don't shout him out. Shout out to Jacour Lockhart. He's doing big things in the education industry. My Dean of Pledges, TK, Terrence Kelly, Bill Kelly. My pro fights, like I said, Dub, that guy that let me meet the shaved ice truck, him. All the guys that was in his realm, Wang G, Trey, Tootie, Cavius. When I used to go to Texas, all the songs I might have been to Texas, it was because of those guys, and Big A, Kawan. Those guys used to look out for me like when I was coming up. Like, it was like, we understand what it was like to be younger, not have it financially, but we still want you to have a good time.
Right.
Come out, we're gonna look out for you. So shouts to all of them, all the way, to now. But one of the most influential out of, your parent, my dad, like my whole journey, he was the one that was pushing me. He never let me quit. He always just told me, just keep thriving, keep moving forward, keep pushing. And he's been one of my biggest supporters. So shout out to him. Shout out to my boss Sam Moore. He's doing big things out here. He's really pushed and took my my career to a different level. Like all the achievements I've been getting, all that, it's mainly because of him. How when he's came in, he's literally set me on a challenge every day. Oh, I know you can be better than this.
Yeah.
You need to look at this. How are you gonna challenge yourself to be better? You might be real good at this, but you're not as good at this. Let's go kill this, and then stuff like that. But all those people that I just mentioned, and shout out to my grandma. We got the same birthday, March 16th. Love you, mama. Shout out to my mom, Helen Walker, down there in Hope, Arkansas. She probably on the porch and being nosy right now with her neighbor. So yeah, but all those people, man, I love them. My sister, all my cousins, Kendra, Tara, all y'all. I love all y'all. So this is y'all shout out. Don't ever say I never shout y'all out. I love y'all. Y'all on the camera. But yeah, all those people. So.
I love it. I can just just tell by your demeanor and just you taking the time to give them that spotlight just shows who you are.
Yeah, gotta give them flowers for sure.
Yes, yes. So, yes. Shout out to all of you. You all should be very proud. What is the best advice you have received from a mentor?
The best advice I received was from a mentor is keep the main thing the main thing. And what I mean by that is you don't ever dwell on what happened, but where you're trying to go. So keep the main thing the main thing. If you know you need to get this done, do it. If you know you want to be here, why are you stopping? You know, just because someone said that you can't do it. Keep the main thing, and just focus and keep going to wherever you want to be. Only you know where you want to go. You know, so a lot of times you might get discouraged because you might not feel like you have that support, but be your biggest fan. You know, on this journey, a lot of times I had to be my biggest fan because I wasn't doing anything that was on the spotlight. So it's like you might feel like, well, dang, I don't feel like I'm really progressing, but I would find times I had myself feel like, well, you did that. Like, that wasn't easy.
Right.
So keeping the main thing for sure. Like, just always make sure that you keep that positive mindset and keep your eyes on whatever that goal is, and don't let anyone or any negative thing deteriorate you from where you're trying to go.
I love it. Hey, keep the main thing the main thing.
Not facts, yeah.
So we are down to the last question. I know I'm sad that this is about to come to an end. You've dropped so many gems. Thank you again. But for the last question, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would you say?
If I could tell my younger self something, I would probably say, continue being you. Don't try to be anybody but yourself. I wouldn't rewrite anything on my journey because everything that I've done, I went through, is what helped me get to where I am today.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, like, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Like, there's nothing I would go back and say, ooh, I wish I'm not one of those people that dwell on it, because everything I learned from, or I got better at, or I grew from, I've had a lot of bumps. I hit my head, made some mistakes, but you got to do that to learn. And that's what I would go back and just tell myself, I just keep going, you're doing good. Nothing negative. Stay positive. Keep the main thing the main thing.
I couldn't have ended on a better note.
Shout out to Bands too. I'm sorry I forgot about you, my guy. Angie Body.
Come to an end. I know, again, I'm so sad for this to be ending. You have dropped so many good gems, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on It's a YP Thing podcast and really share your story, share your journey, and really shed light on not only being a young professional, but being a young professional from a small town. You know, small town until now. No matter where you're from, you can do anything you put your mind to, and I think you have definitely been a testament to that. So just continue. What is it? Keeping the main thing. The main thing. I'm Pansy Johnson. This is It's a YP Thing podcast. I'm all about encouraging, educating, and elevating young professionals, and I will see you in the next episode.